I got Janice, and this is my fault.
We're ready to start?
We are, yes. Please state your name and address, please.
So you want me to begin?
Yes,
The
please.
timer's going here.
Yes.
My name is Janice Schwab. I live at 108 Windmill. I've been a resident for 30 years. I used to live over in Longbow. And I do not support the Salado Creek Access Hike Bike Project. Okay, thanks. Thank you. The hike and bike, oh my, project. So let me see. I'm concerned about the parking lot that's located on Saddle Tree, that's right across from the fire department. And what I don't understand, it doesn't make sense to me if we're going to have that as a kind of a trailhead with parking and fountains and all that, that the hike and bike sidewalk isn't going to go straight down Saddle Tree until it dead ends at Cliffside, because you have the sidewalk going all the way from 400 block of Cliffside all the way down to the 200 block of Saddle Tree. So it doesn't, to me, it makes sense only to, if that's going to be your parking lot for the cars, for bikers, they could go straight down Saddle Tree, take a right on Cliffside, straight down to the trailhead, and there we are. So I don't understand why we have to have a sidewalk or a bike trail or cement up and down Windmill. It seems out of the way, asking people to go down Military, where there's a lot of traffic, even though we have a sidewalk there, and then go down our street. And I'm also was concerned, I talked to Mr. Hill the other day, we didn't know about it. Nobody on Windmill that I know of, except for one person, knew about this. And perhaps it's our fault because we didn't check the website or whatever, but we are very much unaware. So there's a lot of us opposed to this. I don't know where they are tonight, but anyway. In addition, I'm a little concerned about building that parking area on Saddle Tree. And I know that it plans to be in the Chavano Park city-owned property, that beautiful space that's unadulterated right now. And to make a pavement on there, you're going to have to, I'm sure, cut down trees. Beautiful 100-year-old live oaks. And here we are, Tree City, and we're going to cut down trees to lay more pavement, which I object to. If you're an athlete, or if you're a part-time jogger or runner, you can park a lot of places. The 1604 trailhead, that's got a lot of parking. The one over on Hebner, that's got some parking. It's gotten a little worse. The Alden Courts used to let you park there. But anyway, you can still find parking there. And they're 1.5 miles away. So I don't understand why we have to create another trailhead, particularly for people who are not citizens. Anyway, so then the other one, oh, and I also thought, well, maybe you're building that parking lot so that it can make it convenient for the attendees to the 4 events that you hold and the Sunday market. But boy, I'm telling you, that's dangerous, and as I'm sure you know, to cross that busy new 5-lane speedway to go across the street to those events. So I'm very concerned about that too. Lots of area out here behind the City Hall to build a paved parking lot, I think. And the other thing we were talking about was a gate. If you have a gate, a coded gate, who gets the code? How do you get the code? Does it change often? And are we going to have gates so that how are people going to not just go around the little gate we have for the code and get in the park? That's a long space. And Inwood, they can get away with it because they're a gated community. So they have a gate that you have to walk through to get into their streets. But I don't see how we can stop that with us without building an expansive gate. Maybe y'all have a plan, but I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything about it. So anyway, I'm asking that you withdraw your application for the grant, and I would appreciate it, and I certainly would appreciate you not considering putting a walk down Windmill Road. we're concerned about. I don't know if that's an easement, I guess, and part of that's your property, but anyway. So I'm speaking on behalf of several citizens that I know of who are concerned also. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Janice. Okay, are there any other citizens to be heard? Brings us to item number 4, city council comments. Without objection, we'll dispense with city council comments. Brings us to item number 5, agenda items. Item 5.1, public hearing, proposed annual operating and capital budget, fiscal year 2025-2026. Bill?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We've presented the city, well, go to the next slide here real quick.
It is now 5:36.
Yeah. On August 14th, we met and we provided the city manager proposed budget on October 14th. We had a lot of discussion, a lot of slides. We went through department by department. From there, after that budget was presented, City Council then voted to propose a tax rate of 0.312742 per $100 of valuation, which is no change from last year. I've got a copy of the proposed budget, which is going to be considered for the first reading tonight. And then, based upon the approval and guidance from City Council, we'll come back next Monday for the final reading. On the previous slide, we saw the nice budget cover letter. Great job by Curtis doing that. I think it really represents a lot of the achievements we had last year. If you are following the budget online or here, you would see that the second page, or the inside cover, is the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award, which the city has received every year since 2015. Then on the second inside page, there's a mandatory paragraph that I am going to read, just because it's mandatory on every one of the budgets, where this budget will raise more revenue from property taxes than last year's budget by an amount of $137,341, which is a 2.68% increase from last year's budget. And the property tax revenue raised from new property added to the tax roll this year is $71,626. Now, the budget then includes a short portion, which has the vision and the mission statement, and 3 or 4 pages with the community profile, which is general information. It goes into a detailed table of contents, which, because the budget is over 200 pages long, it becomes difficult to understand what section, what page it is you're doing that. When we finalize the budget, it'll all be linked in the PDF on the table of contents to a particular page. And then the next piece is the city manager's letter. It's 4 pages long. It includes an intro, a budget overview, strategic goals, major revenues, major expenses, and changes in priorities and service levels. Now, next slide. Most of these highlights you've seen. And I'm prepared to go through these as well as a number of other key points. I think I've got 5 or 6 slides, and I can do it in as much detail as you want. I don't know if you want to give me some guidance, Mayor, on how much detail you want on this, or?
Well, Bill, we went over this in quite a bit of detail at our last council meeting. There are important things that our citizens would like to hear. The amount that is going to compensation, particularly for the police and fire departments, I think are numbers that our council, that our citizens would like to hear. And if there's any way of giving them year-over-year numbers, the amount that we're adding to our capital improvement funds, what our continuing reserve fund percentage is going to be after this cycle is completed, and any new revenue sources that we haven't experienced in prior years. Okay,
great. So, on my budget letter, I will just say that the budgeted general fund expenditures for the general fund this year are approximately $7 million, while the total expenditures for all funds are approximately 15.9, and that includes a lot of the street reconstruction funds. As I mentioned before, there was no new ad valorem tax increase. The tax stays the same. I will tell you that the total taxable assessed value of property, including property and the fees and the tax freeze, is $1.9 billion. That represents a $46 million increase, or 2.5%. Of that amount, approximately 23 million was new property that was built in the developments, mostly residential this last year. The average homestead value was $1,029,000. And not the median one, but the average. So that gets skewed up by the very expensive new houses that are being built in Huntington. Let's see. You might be interested in the freeze tax. The 2025 total values amounted to $650 million, and that's an increase of almost 5% over the 2024 freeze tax property. That equates to 34% of all the taxable value is under a freeze tax. That tax for Shalvador Park cannot be raised. And then there are 1,496 residential properties, so almost 1,500, of which 730 are qualified for the over 65 tax freeze. That's 49% of all of our residents qualify for the tax freeze. I will tell you that revenues, the last major revenue I'll talk about is sales tax, and we see it flat. It didn't really grow this last year, and we're not projecting a large growth in sales tax, so that's just a data point. To get to your point, Mayor, this budget proposes a 2.5% step increase and a 2% COLA across the board. There was a compensation committee that met. I'll go to the next slide. There is a list here of the A-list actions which that committee has proposed, and we briefed at the last meeting, and we received consensus. So the budget accounts for each one of these in the budget. The budget proposes a 16% increase in the city's contributions to employee health benefits. That's it went up. The cost of those health benefits went up a significant amount. A lot of that cost is also going to be borne by the employees, but the city did change from a 25 to a 50% contribution for dependent health care, which will help out a lot. I will go to the next slide, which will continue into the where the arrow is, the Capital Replacement Fund. This budget includes $312,000 from the general fund revenues, plus an additional $50,000 from Community Enhancement and Engagement Fund, and also there's some interest payments in there. But the bottom line on that is it's fully funded, and that's always the thermometer for a budget, to make sure that the operating costs, the maintenance and operating costs, don't sacrifice and don't cut into your future savings for your capital replacement funds. I wanted to highlight on the water fund that the budget includes $310,000 worth of system improvements and water rights, as well as $130,000 allocated towards future capital expenses. So those system improvements are really in preparation for phase 2 street improvements, and we're going to be tackling maybe 1/3 of the street improvements that have to be done in preparation for a reconstruction of the streets over north of City Hall, northwest of Northwest Military Highway. The Crime Control Prevention District Fund includes revenues of $199,000 and expenses of $70,000. We didn't have to replace any patrol cars this year, so the good news is that delta will go into the Capital Replacement Fund and be used as savings and will be expended in the out years. This budget proposes that all remaining funds in the street projects funds from the 2022 bond will be expended. So we budgeted it. Something could happen where we don't actually get the project done. We'll extend it to the next year, but we have all those funds budgeted. That will take care of Days of Allah road project. They'll take care of reconstruction of portions of Chavano Creek and the seal coating with an enhanced coat on the rest of the streets of Chavano Creek. And we may have some left over to address some of the other Phase 1 items. The Street Maintenance Fund provides revenues of about $187,000 a year. We've expended 150 of that to go back into street reconstruction and street maintenance. So there's a little bit of savings there that we can use in the out years, and we'll need those. And our court restricted funds deal with court security and software updates. I think I got one more slide. Let's see. We do have a new Community Enhancement and Engagement Fund, restricted. The City Council has designated that as a restricted fund. That's revenues generated from the electronic billboards. We expect to start receiving revenues in October, soon after this budget goes into effect. And we've allocated expenses of the city sponsored events, things like shred and e-waste expenses, Fiesta Metals, TextMyGov, capital replacement fund for the pavilion, $50,000. But those items are meant for those expenses that deal with the community enhancement and engagement, as we've talked about before. $20,000 is allocated from Tree and Beautification Fund to both Lock Hill Selma and Northwest Military Highway. And the projects that we've briefed you out before will be, they're not too extensive, but incrementally we hope to make improvements in the entrances and the roads coming into Chavano Park on Lock Hill Selma, Days of Allah, and Northwest Military Highway. I wanted to highlight the debt fund because just a couple years ago we had a number of debts. We had water debt, we had street debts, we had previous debts that exist, and we took out a $10 million bond. But now the city's total debt obligation, because we've been paying that off, is $10,883,000, of which $1,800,000 is supported by water revenue. So we're not in bad shape there. We're paying it off at a pretty good clip. There are some budgetary changes that I kind of mentioned before. It includes emphasis on compensation and benefits to account for inflation and rising medical costs. There's the drainage and street capital improvements on Days of Allah, reconstruction of approximately 1 mile of residential streets, and an application of street preservation material on the remaining Chavano Creek subdivision. Also in Chavano Creek is a plan to replace the aging street signs and to refurbish some of those poles, which is still a work in progress. The bottom line is there's no planned reductions in service levels in this budget. Next slide. The one change from the city manager's budget is in the bottom, replace the CID desktop computer. Probably didn't need to highlight this, but just wanted to highlight that's the only thing that's changed, and we're funding that from the Crime Control Prevention District funds. I think that concludes my brief.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any citizens with questions, comments, or concerns? There being no citizens with questions, comments, or concerns, it brings us to item 5.2, discussion action, ordinance O-2025-014, approving and adopting a budget for the city of Chavano Park, Texas for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2025 and ending September 30th, 2026. Making appropriations for each fund and department, establishing a sinking fund for existing city financial obligations, providing for levying and collecting of a sufficient tax to pay the interest on such sinking fund obligations, repealing conflicting ordinances, providing a savings and severability clause, and declaring an effective date. This would be a first reading. Bill?
We've got one slide here, because I just gave a good overview of the budget. But I wanted to highlight, you might have noticed on the agenda that there is a comparison of the property amount, tax amounts, on the average valued homestead property. And that's a new law that was passed effective 1 September, in which if you're considering agenda items that deal with the tax rate and has impact on taxpayers, then you've got to have a comparison of what that might do. So we've settled on this format. We've talked to a couple different cities and looked at their examples. I think we've got this one down. But the bottom line is, you can see there's a difference between the average homestead taxable value in 2025 and 2026. It's about $27,000. And then the estimated tax bill this year for a resident that owns a $1 million home goes from $3,136 to $3,221, not like $86. The estimated tax bill, if the city used the no new revenue rate, would actually only increase by $19 to $3,240. So that's all new. I thought I would put that explanation in.
Thank you very much, Bill. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2025-014, approving and adopting a budget for the city of Chavano Park for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2025 and ending September 30th, 2026, making appropriations for each fund and department, establishing a sinking fund for existing city financial obligations, providing for the levying and collection of a sufficient tax to pay the interest on such sinking fund obligations, repealing conflicting ordinances, providing a savings and severability clause, and declaring an effective date. Do we have a motion? We have a motion from Lee.
Second.
We have a second from Conrad. We're now open for discussion. Anybody have any questions or comments?
I have some questions.
Buddy?
Bill, we've been very fortunate that our property values continue to increase throughout the community. And I noticed that on your previous slide, we went from 3,000 to 3,200 as far as contribution or the taxes. We've had that luxury, but we've also been facing an issue with the rising ages, the exemptions in the community that don't pay tax because they're frozen by law up to at age 65. Has a trend? Do we see a trend of it reversing because of saturation? We get more and more families moving in that are younger and that have kids, which we see at our community events and everything. What do you see a turning point happening? I mean, as we continue to improve the community with roads and infrastructure and everything else, at some point, we don't raise taxes. I'm just trying to figure out, as we continue to do what we're supposed to do on keeping the city where it wants to be, at what point do we reach a saturation point?
Great question. We're all looking every year to see where that tipping point comes, because in reality, folks that are over 65, you can do the math on the actuary tables. They're either going to move out or move on, so to speak. But we had 7 more properties this year than we had last year that qualified for, and that's cumulative. So some of the folks that may have moved out and younger families moved in, there's still 7 more total families that met that qualification. I would assume at some point in time it can't keep going up, but I don't know.
But we've seen this trend. I mean, from early on, since I've been around,
Yes.
Through planning and zoning, it's been a constant growth. And like you said, 34% participate, that are frozen. We have 49% that are paying their full taxes. So there's a delta in there somewhere. But when you really look at things, I mean, we're truly at like 56% of our community does not pay 100% of the taxes just because of the laws that are out there. And so, like I said, I'm just trying to see how it's going to affect us. We're keeping in tune with the town plan, and we're trying to forecast additional services and additional repairs, infrastructure throughout the city. But at what point? I mean, our goal is to not raise taxes, But at some point, it's just, it's going to be very, very hard. And I know it was it was hard this year about not increasing taxes to do everything we wanted to do within the city. And it's just, I know we don't have a crystal ball, but at some point, the trend needs to change or will change just because of the influx of younger people in the community. And it's just something that, I think we need to be aware of.
I think it's a good observation.
Yeah. Thank you, buddy. We do have 38 new homes that should be coming on during this fiscal year or during the following, some of it stubbing over into the 26, 27 time period because of the townhomes that are going to be just north of Huntington. That will provide some additional revenue for the city. We had a net 7 increase. We also had a number of people that have aged out of Chavano Park. Those who age out and go to assisted living may continue to claim their homestead exemption and will continue to claim that homestead exemption until their family members sell their home. For those who age out by the eternal age out, we normally actually know who those people are. We have a problem with actually questioning the tax value of some people's homes that, I've had people say, well, your house is worth X, I think it's worth more than X, Bob, or something like that. As a city council and as city employees, we can't actually question anybody's value, but we do have the ability to go to the taxing authority and explain to them that Susie has gone on to her great reward and that this house needs to be readjusted. Just because Susie's family hasn't gotten around to telling you that Susie has gone on, that's not the correct answer. I have known, as an attorney, I've known many people who have waited 4 and 5 and 6 years until they got caught to actually decide that they were going to pay the fair value on dad's home instead of paying the tax freeze value. So that is something that maybe, Bill, we need to be considering is for our senior citizens, I think we provide great services to our senior citizens, and we certainly want them to be here. But at the point that they have gone on to their great reward and they're not survived by a surviving spouse who's age 55 and over, who is entitled to that continued exemption, their children are basically getting a freebie from the city of Chavano Park, and I don't know that that's necessarily appropriate. So I would question whether we're going to continue to do that. Bill, at one time we also, you were talking about the water purchases. How much of that will be completed in this fiscal year and how much of that will be carried forward to the 25-26 time period?
So we're targeting 50 right now, based upon the fund balance that we have there and the improvements that we anticipate we are going to need to make in the next 2 years, so we don't want to expend too much. We're in contact with a broker now, and we had kind of like an informal agreement to work through that. I actually talked to him last week, and there was an issue, a challenge with the family that was going to do that. So that looks like that one's fallen through. And I said, well, look, I'd really like to get this done by the year-end 30 September. He's like, I'm on it. Let me see, I think I can find another seller. I don't know that we could do it by 30 September, so it may have to go to the next budget year. So we have provisions to do it both years and if we need to come back and do a budget amendment, we can do that. But it's still promising, and we're still working through that.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions, comments, or concerns on ordinance O 2025-014? Okay, we have a motion by Lee and a second by Conrad to approve ordinance O 2025-014, approving and adopting a budget for the city of Chavano Park, Texas for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2025 and ending September 30th, 2026, making appropriations for each fund and department, establishing a sinking fund for existing city financial obligations, providing for the levying and collection of a sufficient tax to pay the interest on such sinking fund obligations, repealing conflicting ordinances, providing a savings and severability clause, and declaring an effective date. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. The motion carries 5-0. This brings us to item number 5.3, discussion action Ordinance O 2025-015, adopting a temporary construction speed zone of 25 miles per hour on Days of Allah from Lock Hill Selma Road to Northwest Military Drive. This is an administrative ordinance and will be, if enacted, will be effective immediately. Curtis.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This proposed administrative ordinance in front of you would be to lower, during the construction of Days of Allah Road between Lock Hill Selma and Northwest Military Highway, from 35, which is as normal posted, to 25 miles per hour. Of course, right now it is closed between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. for the excavation. We've been pushing out updates to the residents on that. We will be meeting tomorrow morning in this room with the contractor to get an update. Some bad news, their equipment broke down the Friday, but they worked on Saturday. They might have to push it to extend another week to close it. But regardless of that whole discussion, this action is just comes from us talking with the contractor and the street advisory board about how safety concerns and how can we, not only safety of the workers, but the drivers on Days of Allah Road. And we think this be a prudent action we could take to improve the safety of everybody on Days of Allah, to lower it from 35 to 25. This would only be until the expiring, the earlier of the project completion or an action by City Council. So the City Council at some point could revoke this, and the penalty is just a Class C misdemeanor, and all normal traffic penalties would apply in a construction zone.
Thank you very much. Which means double fines for construction zone. So, do we have a motion to approve ordinance O 2025-015, adopting a temporary construction speed zone of 25 miles per hour for Days of Allah Road from Lock Hill Selma Road to Northwest Military Highway?
So moved.
We have a motion from Conrad. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Maggie. We're now up for discussion. Lee.
Have we the signage?
It's already up.
We've been talking with the contractor and with Johnny, and I think we're pretty much staged and ready to go, that as soon, if this is approved, to get the signage up. So I
Have we
think they
had any
already ordered it.
incidents so far?
Johnny, we have it, right?
Okay. Have we had any incidents because of construction?
No, there's been no actual accidents in the construction zone. There was an accident right outside the construction zone, but that was a distracted driver. So
Thank you.
probably would have happened regardless of the construction.
Okay. Buddy?
Once this is done, does it become effective immediately? And is it enforceable?
It's enforceable once we get the signage posted. So if the mayor came in and signed it tomorrow, that's great, but we have to get the signs posted before our officers could actually enforce it.
And we have to post it in the Muni Code. It has to be posted, it has to be signed, it has to be voted on, executed, and posted. Laws aren't laws until they're posted. So tomorrow, I think we can get all of those done.
Because I'm only asking because on the way over here, I saw the signs up already. That's why I was,
I guess we're not enforcing them yet.
that's,
We need
Okay.
to let our citizens know.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, we have a motion to approve ordinance O 2025-015, adopting a temporary construction speed zone at 25 miles per hour on Days of Allah Road from Lock Hill, Selma Road to Northwest Military Highway. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. The motion carries 5-0. Item number 5.4, discussion action report out from the Boards and Commissions Advisory Committee. Maggie and Pete, who's going to start?
I'll start.
Pete's going to start.
All right, so back in July, Maggie and I were nominated to be on the advisory committee for the Chavano Park Boards and
We
Commissions.
thought you volunteered. Thank you. I'm sorry, but we thought you volunteered.
Yeah, I wanted to
I'd
be
like to
real clear
review the
on that.
vote.
Yeah, okay.
So one of the things I wanted to do is just kind of highlight some of the findings that we found and go through that, and then I'll go through our recommendations, and then after that, we'll open it up and for discussion if you have any questions. But real briefly, I'll go through kind of some of the key things that we found. So there were 18 plus one alternate open positions that we sent out. We had 17 applicants. 10 of the candidates reapplied for their current positions. And one of the recommendations that we're saying is if those candidates reapplied and they're in good standing, they attended the meetings, they participated, What we're saying is that we just recommend that those individuals hold those positions. We also interviewed 5 additional candidates that are new to the process to basically answer their questions. And these interviews went over an hour long, most of them, about an hour. We gained some really good insights to the applicant's skills and their passions that provided this opportunity to answer questions, and there were a lot of questions. We tried to focus on the leadership and experience qualities and getting the right person to fill the slots. So the other thing that was real interesting is through the conversations, we also identified an opportunity about the Tree and Beautification Committee, which I'll be touching on. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So I know there's a lot of information on this slide, so I'm going to try to clear it really quick. If you go across the top, it has each of the 5 boards and commissions. And the number that you see in red is the number of open positions that we need to fill. From that, if you go to the next kind of category, those are the current positions that are whose nominations have not expired. So those are the current people on the board. The next ones are those that have reapplied. So, and then following that, you see the number of applicants that have applied, and what you'll see is a number by that, and that is associated to their preference. So as you see, 1, that was their first preference, 2 is their second preference, and 3 is their third preference. What you see in the box in green are the names that we are recommending to fill the positions. So for planning and zoning, we're recommending Eric Frederick, Diana Stubing, who has reapplied, Zach Taylor, William Thorpe, who has reapplied, and Krista Trippi, who has reapplied. For the Water Advisory, there's currently 3 positions open. We're recommending Jason Beck, who reapplied. We're recommending Sean Fanning. We're recommending Al Whaley, who reapplied and is also the chair of that committee. For the Tree Committee, the nominees that we're recommending are Lori Fanning, Otter Obst, and Scott Simon, who reapplied. For the Board of Adjustments, we're recommending Jamie Alleman, Charles Bain, who reapplied, William Hartman, who reapplied, Christian Lyons, we are recommending as an alternate, and Joseph Valdez as an alternate. And then on the Investment Committee, we're recommending David Twill, who reapplied. All right, now before we answer any questions, I'd like to go to the next slide. So this came through our conversations, and one of the things that we recognize is that we have both the Tree Advisory Committee and we also have the Beautification Committee. And as you look at these 2 committees, there's some overlap, but a lot of consistency with the type of individuals who apply for these type of positions. So we didn't get enough applicants to fill the Tree Committee positions. We're 3, and we also think that there's an opportunity to combine both the Tree Committee and also the Beautification Committee. And one of the things I noticed too, Bill, is when you were going through and talking about the budget, is we actually have a tree and beautification budget. So it fits in real well with that. So again, we've identified the purpose, but you can see the individuals that were that are currently on the Tree Committee. You'd see the individuals that are on the Beautification Committee, and we would combine these. I think there is some work to kind of flush this out, and I think what we would ask is that the staff would work to figure out the details of how you do this and how you coordinate the overall structure. But what we're presenting is kind of the overall concept we believe is solid, and we think that the overall concept needs to be done. So I'll stop my briefing at that and open it up for questions for Maggie.
Okay.
And I. Oh, wait, before I do that, Maggie, did I miss anything?
Nope, I think you did well.
Okay.
Good
This-
job.
This is not an action item this evening, so I will open it up for discussion, questions, comments. Conrad?
Just want to thank both you and Maggie for putting the time and effort in this. It's very helpful. Thank you.
Well, I think all of us want to thank you for your stepping up at this moment and saying, I really, really want this job. Press game, yeah, but we're not British, Yeah,
I have a comment.
Maggie.
That we were very impressed with all of the applicants that came forward. We learned a lot, actually, from them, which was good. And we really suggest that this continue, that people talking with them. We talked with the heads of the committees to make sure that we weren't missing anything on current committees. And this needs to be a continuing event whenever we look at our committees.
Yeah. Just a couple of comments. Number one, I really appreciate the fact that you didn't press the people who were reapplying, who were good members in good standing, to have to show up and go through the process. And I'd recommend that when we look at our resolution on how we select people, that we actually allow them, the people who are reapplying, to say, hey, yes, I want to reapply, and if you have some new information, provide that new information to us. I'd also suggest that for the people who are reapplying, if they want to meet with the committee, they be extended that opportunity, but for most of them, it's like, yeah, you really don't need to be you don't need to come in and justify yourself again, because we know who you are and you're a proven quantity with the committee as a whole. As far as combining committees, some of them may be interested in being on a combined committee. The beautification committee may be something that we continue on a year and 2 and 3 years from now. It may also be something that just kind of falls away because we've done the important things. Lock Hill Summer, if we do the right stuff on Lock Hill Summer, I don't think we're going to be adjusting the beautification every year. But we do want to include those people and give them the opportunity to be on both committees. And that would actually take a change in our resolution on these people, because we don't allow people to be on dual committees. So that would be, those are 3 changes that I'd like to see changed in our recommendations. I don't know what y'all's thoughts are as far as, hey, we want people that are on the tree committee to be able to serve on multiple committees, or at least the beautification committee as well. Second, that we want to make the reapplication process abbreviated. And third, that to the extent that you want to be interviewed, you may be interviewed, but if you don't want to go through the interview process, that's not necessary that you actually go through the interview process. Pete, do you have any thoughts on those?
So I'll take the last one first. Yeah, I do think that is a good idea. We kind of ran out of time. One of the things we wanted to do was to get this done in time, and we knew that the new individuals, we wanted to have a conversation with them to better understand kind of what their concerns were, to understand where they saw themselves fitting, and so we could better assess that. But I do agree with you that we probably ought to, maybe we ought to start this sooner, the process a little bit sooner, to give us more time in order to do that, in order to be able to fit people's schedules. But I totally agree with the fact that if somebody wants to come talk to us, they need to come talk. We need to provide that opportunity. That's spot on. The point about combining the two, I think there's a lot of opportunity. You're right. You can't have people on established committees serving 2 committees. I think that's one of the beauties of combining this together. And I think the other thing that if it's orchestrated correctly, it gives the citizens who are on the beautification committee the opportunity that we would reach out to them and say, we want to offer you this opportunity, and let them decide whether they want to do that or not. But it also, being a larger group, it allows us to I think, do more, and we could probably break those up into subcommittees within that group to focus on certain things. But it was real clear in some of the interviews that we had is that people saw the overlap, and so they brought that forward to us. That wasn't us that it was smart enough to figure that out, but they saw that overlap, and they recommended it to us. So anyway, Maggie, what else did I miss on that?
No, you did a really fine job. We will always be involved in something regarding trees and/or beautification, as far as flower beds, any type of decor, that will always be, I mean, it's not just gonna be one or the other. They're both, they're both important to Chavano Park, and they're both gonna be there. That'll be ongoing,
Very good.
is my guess.
But I do, Mayor, I think you brought up some good concerns, and I think that's where we'd reach out to Bill and have Bill come back maybe in October, and maybe get more into the specifics of how you would actually do the mechanics of this, because I agree with you that there's probably some mechanics here that probably have to be worked out.
Well, if we're going to kind of make that joint application effective for the next cycle in October, and offer them that option, we're going to have to actually make that change at the next council meeting. As far as and I think that everybody's kind of nodding their heads that the joint service is absolutely fine, and I think that there's a clear consensus on that.
You know, we
Let's
can
make
do
sure we
that.
got that head nodded
Whether or
up.
not the ordinance is finalized, you know, we can, it's not that complex, so.
Yeah.
I think we can do that, and actually, when you look at the members on the beautification that would kind of come in here, you know, there's periods where you organize in October and you're focused on the beautification, and then the tree is really towards March, April. And just like we did with the Days of Allah, Loch El Selma, and Northwest Military Highway subcommittees, those folks were interested in those areas. They gravitated to that, and I think it was more effective not having a smaller group that you can coordinate with, and I think we can achieve that. And we'll certainly need to talk to them before this. And
Yeah, well,
we can do that.
you know, making the offer is, and I don't know that we need a really formal ordinance change. We just need to have the offer of, as an action item, as a part of the nomination process for the tree committee, that those who are serving on the beautification committee, that the cross-membership of committees is waived, and that they may be on two different committees at their discretion. So that actually could probably be done. The only thing that I'm really the thing I'm interested in probably most of all is, for the longest time, we have said, yeah, you have to make a full reapplication. And I know that some people are off-put by that. They're really great people, and it's like, why did I have to justify myself every single year?
Yeah,
Okay.
Mayor, we do have it on the agenda, not as the ordinance, the formal change, but as a action item to approve it, and we'll come back with the October, with the ordinance, but we can actually approve the structure and the combination with the purpose and all that stuff in the next meeting, next Monday.
Yeah, so we might just include on the agenda item, including the opportunity for people on the tree committee to serve on multiple committees as established by city council.
I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, okay. Lee?
I think through the buzz, I think you just said what I wanted to ask. I just was looking at the names on these two committees, a lot of smart people. Why don't we ask them if they see any reason they can't get together? I mean, it's not a feuding family or anything, but let's get some genius in here to tell us how it will work or how it won't work. Work from there.
Well, of course, every citizen can show up for every one of our committee meetings that is posted. The only thing is, nobody shows up.
Let's make it a personal invitation from no less an authority than the mayor.
Well, I was thinking we might offer margaritas, and, you know, I thought that might actually be more appealing, or
Diet.
wine,
I like that.
or wine,
Or
the after party.
sushi.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on item 5.4? There being no further discussion on item 5.4, brings us to item number 6. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Just to let you know, we closed out at 5:52 on our public hearing.